Contrast uncut, yeah, you know that's us. Where we only speak the real and the real rock with us. Where we motivate the people and politic on success. Oh no, we ain't DJ Khaled, but they swearing we the best. Contrast uncut, contrast uncut, contrast uncut, contrast uncut.
What's happening? It's Contrast Uncut, Season 3, Episode 22. Big shout outs to Uncle Snoops Army and Bobby D Presents. I appreciate you, brothers. It's your host, DJ Juan Dollars, like I won some money, aka Zylo. Ladies and gentlemen, today we got a really dope special guest. You may have seen him, all across the board if you pay attention to podcasts, because the brother got like 4 of them, 5 of them. And, he's out of LA. He's a producer, an artist. He got the dope Doubt Me Apparel. He wearing it right now as we talk about it. He also has a Doubt Me Tech on YouTube that's, growing fast and rapidly. And, he's the man that ventures a part of many things behind the scenes. And if you don't know who I'm talking about the Hyphenate, everybody. How you doing, brother?
Hey, man, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for the kind words and for the support, man, like the good vibes, the checking out what I do. And yeah, man, I'm just someone that likes to do a lot of different things. So hip hop is one of my main things, but yeah, I do so much. So thank you for mentioning those things too.
Absolutely. I mean, bro, you blew my mind when I was like, man, he could talk about Disney, The Mandalorian. He could talk about WWF, WWE. He could talk about sports. He could talk about music. And he does all these different things to correlate into it. And I'm like, bro, that's that right energy. That's taking something and seeing past the closing of the idea and putting it to life.
Yeah, man, I try to be like, even with my music and as the Hyphenate, it's really just who I am as a person. And so I just let it out through my art. So the things that I'm into, the things that I like, I just put that in. I incorporate that with my music or with my videos. So even like with my YouTube is filled with so much different content. Like on Friday, I did a live stream of me playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, the video game from like 2000, and then I have 2 podcasts on my Doubt Me, or actually on my main YouTube channel, the Hyphenate. One of them is all, like you said, like, Mandalorian, and pretty much it's called Talking Pictures Podcast, and that's all just geek, nerd, pop culture stuff. So movies, TV shows, gaming, pretty much anything relating to visual media. And then I have my Doubt Me podcast, where I actually have a guest on and we talk about different things. And then, of course, as a music artist, I'm a music producer. And then, so I have beat making videos. I have, and then I'm an artist, so I write songs. I'm a performer as a hip hop artist. So I drop songs, I drop music videos consistently. And then whenever I'm interviewed on stuff like this or on radio or whatever, I always have it recorded as well. And I take little clips and I upload pieces that could be a specific, 5-minute piece on motivation, inspiration, etc. Whatever it is, or even storytelling. So I just really believe, man, like, if you be who you are and let it all show, man. If you have various interests, like, do it. I remember when I first started doing music, like my first project, which is not on Spotify or anything like that anymore, because like looking back at it, I sucked balls in the beginning. But like even my first project was very diverse. I had like lyrical underground music, and then I had more club mainstream style music, and it was all like a mixture. And I remember people would tell me like, man, like, stick to one thing, just do like stay in one lane and then focus on that. Now there's a part of that that's like I agree with, like you're definitely going to grow faster if you stay in one place, because people get used to that and they expect that type of content from you. But like honestly, man, like I'm someone that just has a lot of interest, and I felt like, no, I'm going to do everything I want to do. And if it takes me longer to get to where I want to go, because it's harder to build, because I'm building multiple audiences as opposed to one that grows faster, I'm okay with that, because at least I'm like making the content that I like, and being the person that I really am. And I don't feel like I'm like limiting myself. So yeah, man, I try to keep busy, man. I try to keep busy, and I'm grateful that I've been able to meet people that have, like, a lot of my friends are not one, like I have some friends that are into music. I have some friends that are into gaming, some friends that are into nerd stuff. Like, so being able to like have different people that I get to like experience those things with, relate, experience, and create content with a lot of times too. Like that's awesome to me. So I try to have fun with what I do. I love what I do. And but I definitely take it serious. So it's definitely a grind too.
So, you know, I want to put in perspective, that's 7 dimensions this brother is talking about he does. It's not just one, it's not just two. And he took the encouraging words of, hey, you know, put yourself in a box long enough so that people want to buy that box. He was like, why, when I could be the shelf? And, you know, that's real important to understand about the dynamics of this game. And, you know, it's plan A. All of that is the culture, it's entertainment. That is all plan A. And everything you're doing is supporting plan A. Plan B is to push plan A, and plan C is to do both. And, you know, it's incredible to see how you have all these branches and took someone's, you know, words of trying to say, no, don't do so much. And it's like, well, I love it, so I'm going to spread out. And you took the advice the right way, and you made something of it, remove the excuse. And so, no, that's incredible, bro. And you started off right here with a bang. And, you know, I'm going to slow you down just a little bit because I got this quote. And you know, I want to know how the quote relates to you, or if it doesn't, it's all good. I want you to talk about it.
Okay.
Know your worth. People always act like they're doing more for you than they're doing for them. Kanye West.
That's facts, man. I think people always try to make themselves feel as valuable as they can, so that because they're scared of not feeling valuable where they're not needed. So yeah, people always definitely want to make themselves seem like they're
important,
you know, important to you. And there's nothing wrong with that so long as you don't abuse that. But I mean, you should definitely know your worth and know, you know, what you deserve out of people as well as what you're able to give. Like on the flip side of that, I see a lot of entitled people that think, oh, I'm this, I'm that, so I deserve this and I don't have to give anything. I totally disagree with that, man. I feel like if you get in this world, you have to also be willing to give. Now, you don't have to give the exact same thing that you get, but you have to have like essentially something that's like a fair trade, you know? Same thing like in relationships, right? Like whether it's romantic, platonic, friend, family, whatever. It's like you give, you get, you get, you give. But you should definitely know your worth and not let people take advantage or trick you into thinking that they do so much for you that now you have to kiss their ass.
Facts. Because everyone got to remember that, you know, it's like that one movie that came out, Matthew McConaughey and Al Pacino, and they're about gambling. As soon as they call you, they called you. They want your advice. And, you know, you have to remember that the value of someone taking the time to even hit you up. You don't take advantage of that. You don't handle it the wrong way. But you know your value. You put forth your business, and you do the work. You know, don't have to trying to have false hope, because false hope is going to get you somewhere you never wanted to be. And that's the same place you've been.
Yeah. That's real talk, bro. Real talk.
So I got to ask you, the Hyphenate, did the game choose you or did you choose the game? And I'm talking about music and entertainment.
When it comes to hip hop music and or just making music in general, I chose the game. Definitely. I was not born into the game. I didn't have connections, family members. I didn't have anybody to show me, you know, how to do things. YouTube wasn't even really where it's at now, where you could like look up how to do something. I grew up loving all types of music. I grew up listening to like literally all styles of music. Hip hop was always what I gravitated towards the most as far as my primarily, I guess you could say I had a bigger library with hip hop music. But I listened to all genres. And so rap, hip hop, I never had any desire or intention to make music. I never planned on making beats. I never planned on writing songs or even performing as an artist. Wow. I just listened to it, consumed it all the time, all day, every day. Like it was always, I had a boombox or I had a CD player or a tape player, you know, like as I grew up, you know, different things. An iPod when that came out, you know, and I was always like the one in school that always had like all the latest music. Like I would always save my money and I would go to Tower Records or Best Buy or wherever they sold CDs. And I was always, the moment a CD dropped, I bought, and like usually on like every week I would buy like 1, 2, 3 CDs at a time. And so of like whatever artists were coming out that they've already released a song, you know? So like, I was like, oh, I want to buy that CD so I can get that song and I want to hear what else. So I was always the one that had like all the catalog, like, oh, you guys got to hear this song. Oh, you got to hear that song. So as a consumer, I was huge into just collecting music, listening. And then growing up, I started doing video. So I started, well, man, I did a lot of things growing up that led to music. So backyard wrestling was huge for me when I was like in 5th grade. I started doing like my own little backyard wrestling inside the house because I was a big wrestling fan. WWF at the time, then WWE now. that led to me filming it. I got my mom's camcorder. I recorded my matches, and eventually,
Wrestling. Who were you wrestling? Your brother, your cousin?
My best friend at the time. So we were the same age, and we both loved wrestling, and so we would do like legit matches with like ladders, and we would go get like those little cheap like super thin metal trash cans for like those little office trash cans. Use those to hit it over our heads, like all that. I still have the tapes. I just I need to find like a camcorder from that time period with that size tape, so I could convert them to digital now, because I don't have a camcorder like that anymore. But I still have all the tapes, and so we would do these backyard wrestlings, and I used my mom's camera to record them, and I created, like, even as a kid, I was creating my own show. I called it, instead of World Wrestling Federation, which was WWE, I called it HWF, House Wrestling Federation, because we would be in the house wrestling. And then I wanted to, if you've ever watched wrestling, when the wrestlers come down to the ring, they have their own theme music, and then they have like this big jumbo screen above the ramp that shows, like, it looks like a music video. It's like a highlight video of like their best moves, their best whatever, to their theme song. And I wanted to make that. So I was like, oh, I want to learn how to edit the best clips of my wrestling moves, put them to a song. And so when I would walk out to the ring, which was like in the living room, I would put it on the TV. So at the time, I didn't even have like computers, like smartphones didn't exist. So computers, even that was like super expensive and hard to come by with like editing capabilities. But my uncle showed me a super cheap way to take the footage from a camcorder, hook up the RCAs, which were like that red, white, and yellow cables, hook that up to a VCR, press play on the camcorder, record on the VHS, a blank VHS tape, stop, and then look for the next clip, record, stop, and then just kind of just keep stacking up clips. And then from there, he showed me how to take that VHS tape to another, so that VCR output to another VCR with another blank tape, and then connect a stereo boombox as the audio source into that other VCR. So it was like super like grimy Mickey Mouse way to kind of make my own little edits. And I ended up making a full blown like entrance video. I did highlight videos. I taught myself how to just kind of like take it to a further step. And I even like would like mathematically write out the time signatures. So like I could figure out, okay, the song is going to build up at this point. So I got to get the more intense clip to match on the VHS at that moment. It was a mission, but I made it work. And then eventually, shortly after, I came across, which I'm actually working on a song and a music video that's going to talk about this next story that I'm about to explain, skateboarding. That's going to probably drop on June 13th, but I'll give you the gist of the story. My best friend that I would wrestle with, I was big into gaming, so Nintendo 64. He came over. He had a game called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the first one of its kind, the first one in 1999. And so he came, we played it. I got super hooked. Then he started skating, so I started skating. And then taking what I learned from the videos with my wrestling and making highlight videos, I started wanting to make skate videos, which was what all the pro skaters would do. They would have their own skate videos where it's like their own part of their best clip skating with the song of their choice, etc. So I started doing that, VHS to VHS, etc. And then at that point, I was getting better at skating, and I wanted to take things more seriously and get on a more professional level. I was like in 7th grade right here. And I told my mom, like, hey, I need a computer so I can edit, so I could do proper editing for these videos. And she worked her ass off. I have a single mom I grew up with a single mother. So she got me a computer. I taught myself everything. Like, I didn't understand how the hell any of this stuff worked, man. I'm like reading the index part of like the little manual to try to learn the terminology. But like, I was like, what the hell? It's like a foreign language. Eventually I taught myself like how to edit videos, and I was making a bunch of skate videos, and I still skate to this day. And then in high school, I turned into making even in middle school, but in high school a lot. Any presentation on any project in school, I would turn them into short films. So I would write out films with characters, and I created their arcs, their backstories, and how they interacted. But like, and I would the whole film would center around all the key points I had to mention in my presentation to the class. So like, for example, Wild West, the Wild West, right? I had to talk about lawmen, cowboys, marshals, etc., whatever. And then I would create a storyline that integrated all that could explain how they worked, but in an actual story. And one of my and again, being a huge hip hop fan, I would incorporate like my favorite songs into my videos, even if they had cuss words. And I always got away with it because like at the time, like the teachers were just blown away by like, who the fuck is making these short films? Like what? Because even when I would present to them, hey, I want to do a short film for my presentation, they were always like, look at me like, what are you talking about? Like they didn't even think that was a possibility. But I would do that. And my Wild West one for I think my sophomore year in high school for American history, I took you ever listen to Eminem?
Of course.
His first album, Slim Shady LP, which is still to this day one of my favorite albums. He has a song called Bad Meets Evil, which is him and Royce the 5'9". There's a little intro skit in the beginning and the end where it has they paint it as like a Wild West time period where it's like this dude talking at a saloon talking about these two outlaws, which is Bad Meets Evil. And so I took that whole narration clip that in the beginning of that song to start the story for my Wild West film that I wrote that integrated. And I was bad. My other friend in the class was evil. No, he was bad. I was evil. And so I used that song from Eminem to inspire a short film. And we played characters based on the lyrical artist. But it was all for class. So I would do that consistently throughout high school. And so eventually I wanted to start sending my short films to film festivals, but I didn't know anybody. Like at this time period, especially, I didn't know, like growing up all these years, I never knew anybody that wanted to do these things that I wanted to do or had any experience, or there weren't even classes on this stuff yet in schools, in high schools and stuff. So I was like, I would do everything, write, edit, film it. I would be the camera guy, everything. And then I would star in these videos. And but the one thing I couldn't do is music. So what I had been doing up to that point in high school was I would buy the soundtracks of movies, the score soundtrack, which is the mood music that would like, it's the music that's in the background of a movie or show that it's not a song, but it like, if something scary is about to happen, you hear like that scary sound or, and it builds up. Or if it's sad, it's like this music that plays underneath in the background. It's all instrumental and it makes you feel sad. So I would go buy score soundtracks of these movies and I would take my favorite song or take the songs of the emotions that I needed for my short films and I would put it. But then with film festivals, I wouldn't be allowed to do that because of copyright issues. So towards the end of high school, I ended up telling my mom, hey, I need this software to make my own score music so that I can make my own original music and send my short films to film festivals. And so she got me software for that. Again, that was a whole new beast. I didn't understand anything. All new terminology, all new workflow, all new system. And I was trying to make music having no knowledge of making music at all. So that was horrible in the beginning. At that same time, the movie Hustle and Flow came out. And I was really inspired to like make beats because the software that I had for score music also could let you make, any other type of music. So I was like, fuck, I want to try to make beats. Horrible. Everything I do now, like everything I started, I taught myself. So I sucked balls for a long period of time. And so I tried making these beats and nobody liked them. So I kind of stopped. And then eventually I ended up making a good beat, or not even good, a decent beat. And then the way I started actually writing rhymes was I finished making this beat senior year in high school. I think it was March 22nd, 2007. And I made this beat. I stayed up all night, even though I had school the next day. I just felt inspired to write a song. I wrote a song. I recorded it with a shotgun mic, which is those long boom mics that you use overhead on the actors for film. So I had one of those for my short films. I recorded my song on that, bounced it to CD, pulled up in the morning in school. Me and all my buddies who had cars, we would all meet up in this parking lot, in the school parking lot, park next to each other, and we would all just like bump music and share, music and, just talk and vibe out. So I was like, yo, I got this. And I was the guy who had all the new music. Like, yo, you guys got to check out this new song. And they came and checked it out. It was me. And they were like, this is kind of cool. Who is this? I was like, I don't know. And one guy's like, is that you? I'm like, nah, yeah. And then boom, but honestly, looking back at it, listening back to that song, it was terrible. But again, for a kid at a time when all this stuff was not as easy to do, people were pretty excited about it in school.
You know, at
So
that time that you're talking about, like kids were recording from like headphone mics and recording them on what was it called? It was like a game that they used to record it on the software system, but it was like a game. And I
on the
cannot
PlayStation.
no, it was like
Oh,
into the computer. And so
oh,
like no, because I remember in high school I used to have friends too. Someone moved from Philadelphia to our high school and he was rapping out there and he showed everybody Minecraft. And he showed everybody how to use Minecraft. And
oh,
so
well,
and at that point, everybody started doing music the same way. And you taking me back to my high school era. But you know, something
yeah,
I wanted to point out is that you took the long route to everything.
yeah.
You didn't take the easy route. You didn't take the shortcut. You didn't start calling people, begging people for help. You said, nope, I'm gonna figure this shit out. I'm gonna
In
keep
all honesty, man, if I would have known anybody, I probably would have. I didn't know a single person, so I had to teach myself.
exactly. But you know what it does? It allows you to build relationships on the way while you're headed to that destination. You know, in the beginning, it may be trash or it may be not what you hope it would be or what you envision, but the vision is still there. And it just
Yeah,
because it doesn't meet at the beginning doesn't mean that you stick away from it or you stray away. You keep on being consistent. And everybody
yeah,
I have met, I have mentors, everybody, they all told me one thing that makes them successful: consistency. Never
100%.
and so, you know, as long as you know, recognize that's in you and how you exercise it and what you make out of it, you know, you can either be a fat slob or you can be the most healthy, fit person with everything you envision. It's just up to you on your choice and what you put into it, whether you're going to be an
Yeah,
outlier or you're not. You're going to put 10,000 hours in or you're not.
yeah, and that's facts, man. I like how you put it too. Like that's what I always talk about is being mentally healthy, mentally fit is like that's important. Like you have to be working not just on your own personal development, but on your craft. It's something that you have to like work out on a day-to-day basis. You know, you have to be, if it's something that you really care about, you're really passionate about, you're going to be doing this, like, it's going to be on your mind all the time, and you're going to be trying to be active with it consistently. You know, everybody has a different schedule, especially as you grow up. You have different responsibilities that pop in and out. So sometimes the amount of time you can put into something is not the same as other times, but that hunger, if it's something you really want, it's something that you have to like be dedicated to. Like when you have that free time or you make time to like, okay, I gotta write, or okay, I gotta sit down and I gotta make beats, or you know, oh, okay. And then not only that, but study, right? You gotta study the craft. For me, there wasn't YouTube to teach me how to do these things, so I studied by just breaking down what I saw or heard. I would try to like, what are these instruments? Where are they coming? Like I remember when I first started making beats, I didn't understand bars and structure like that, so it was more of I kind of just taught myself where you know another instrument would come into play, and then eventually again trying to find out how to learn, I would look up and try to read what I could to like, oh, this is how a bar works, oh, this is where you would put that transition, or this is when you would have a beat change, you know, like so. But yeah, it was just that it's that hunger. You got to keep going, you got to keep grinding, and you can't stop. The consistency is 100% key, because the moment you slow down, especially now in 2020, you have that super short attention span. If you go like, you know, a month without posting, you might as well like not exist anymore.
Come on, come on. And then, you know, it's funny because as I always talk about this, when we were kids, you know, I bet you're like early 90s, late 80s. But when we were kids, there was no such thing as ADHD. You know, if we ran around and
Yeah.
had a whole bunch of shit on our mind, we was told to sit our ass down. It wasn't
Yeah.
go see the doctor, none of that. And so, you know, we had to learn how to channel that energy versus these kids. They get prescriptions and they get devices.
Man, I hate all that shit, bro. Like I don't really believe in labels and stuff like that, like ADHD, insomnia. Like I understand that just humans are different. Some have more energy than others, or some are more creative than others. Some people are more fit to like be analytical people that are like writing, you know, in a cubicle or doing numbers, and some people are meant to be out and about and can't sit down as much. Like it's just different people, different behavior traits, and it's not like someone with ADHD, which again, I don't even like that term, but it's not like someone that ADHD is like something's wrong with them. It's just the main thing is finding how to use what your behavior traits or how your mind works, and finding a way to actually keep that,
Enhance it.
yeah, and utilize it for something in your future or for your productivity, your happiness, etc.
So, you know, something I want to bring up, and I know you being a host of your own show and you've interviewed people, the number one thing people want to do in this industry is not make it feel like a job. Nobody wants
Yeah.
to wake up and feel like they have to clock in, hate what they're doing. Because one, that stops creativity. Two, that stops the vibe of being happy and joyful for what you do. And the third thing of all is, you know, you don't want to do it if it's a job.
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing I respect about what you were able to do is that you recognize all these gifts and it came easy to you. And your mother pretty much, she enhanced it. She was like,
Oh, for sure.
Give, let me go ahead and do whatever I can to help my son. And it's going to pay off in the long run. And so the question to you is, you know, through this process, what was your confirmation in life that, you know, this is what you're supposed to be doing? I can't imagine you saying, man, I'm 21 and I'm doing videos and I'm doing all these things with all the power I have. And I'm at McDonald's and I'm striving to be a manager and this is the only thing I want to do. I just can't see that parallel for you.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on the person, right? So if we're talking about me specifically, for me, my mind is always a million miles per hour. And even with all the things I do now, I still feel like I'm so far behind or so far away from the destination. I feel like I'm nowhere near close and I'm consistently always grinding and striving. And when I get to like another level, I'm like, okay, well, I'm still 100 levels away from where, you know, so it's always like a never ending thing. So in my mind, there's just like that hunger, and that hunger is like pretty much something that doesn't ever stop. And that's what's kind of helped push me to, okay, what's next? How do I improve? How do I get better? How do I grow? How do I build my numbers up? You know, et cetera. So just me being kind of self-aware of my mindset. It's like, cause I've had like jobs before, you know, regular 9-to-5 jobs. And there were times where like I almost without, like, I knew I wanted something bigger. I knew I wanted something more. And I'm not knocking any of the jobs at all, but just for me, my mindset, it's like what my hunger requires. Those jobs were not going to make me happy enough. I don't care about the money. The money is not what fuels me. Like, I know some people that the money is most important, and that's cool. Like, if they can find their happiness with their balance, like, I think the main thing really quick is balance. You have to find the balance of like the grind, the work, because even the stuff that I do, or even the things that a lot of us do that are in these artistic entertainment aspects, a lot of it is work. Like, as much as I love the art, there's a lot that I have to do that does feel like work, and it is work. Like, I don't really care for social media, but I have to do social media. But for me, I feel like it takes away me living in the moment a lot of times, or it takes away from me enjoying moments because I'm like, oh, I got to post. Oh, I got to think about, oh, now I got to post. And then it's like, now there's so many social media sites. Like, that's a job, the social media aspect. I love making beats. I really don't like making beat-making videos, but I know beat-making videos are essential to get people excited about my beats. So, like, there are parts that are definitely jobs. But, yeah, man, like, it really comes down, like, going back to the job thing, and knowing what I'm capable of doing and knowing what I really want to do that makes me happy. Because, again, everybody's happiness is different to them. But to me, it's creating my art is what makes me happy. So if I can, when I had these like 9-to-5 jobs, there were times where, because I was so flat broke, I needed these jobs. I took these jobs, and all the time that I was putting into it, in like what was always on my mind is like, man, if I put just let's say an 8-hour day, in 8 hours, you know how many beats I could make? You know, how many whatever. Now, I could be the most talented person in the world, and if it's not making me money, it's pointless, right? I would make, and that's happened a good portion of my life, was like I made some dope ass beats, or I made, you know, whatever I thought was really dope. And it just like, oh, well, if I don't have a customer, I need to go get this fucking job because these dope ass beats are not paying me. So like finding that balance, but also thinking like, nah, man, if I really hustle my ass off, if I use that same time frame to figure out ways and think beyond the craft, the art is cool, but really this is a business, right? So you have to be able to like have some business savvy mindset to like learn how to make money off of it. Like, there are so many talented people that are, you know, doing these little live shows on Venice Beach Boardwalk, and people are passing by and nobody gives a fuck. So
come on,
the talent really is one part that almost doesn't matter, but it does. But on the grand scheme of things, it's everything else. It's the time you put in, the hustle, the effort, and the figuring things out, being open-minded enough to be like, okay, it's not always exactly what you want or how you think. You have to like also cater to other people. You got to find ways to be in front. You got to find ways to use, in this day and age, this social media to stay relevant, so that way you can eat off of it. Otherwise, you're going to have to go get another 9 to 5, whether you want to or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you have to know the rules. You have to know the ground rules for everything. Because, I mean, you brought up a great thing with people at Venice Beach, even the 3rd Street Promenade, and you see all the talent that's there. And, you know, one, people don't realize it's first come, first serves. And 2, you need a license or a permit to be out there doing things. And, you know, you don't know the law, you cutting yourself. And the same thing applies to everything else we're doing. Because, like you said earlier in the thing, it's like, you know, you had this dope stuff out, but if you don't know the business of it and you don't know where to get it to and get it, you know, handled and how to get paid and get the advancement and everything else that's attached to music, it's like, you know, what are you doing it for? And so it's a slow process, because you have to keep on having a faith light, the light of faith of like, man, I believe this is going to work. I believe this is going to work. And, you know, I bring that up because, bro, I was a manager of a restaurant. I ran a pizza place for 7 years, made them millions of dollars. And, you know, the main thing about my recipe was, you know, being an advocate for the customer. And, you know, you take yourself out the equation and say it's your money being spent, even though it's theirs, and how would you feel? And then you treat them that way. And, you know, that made us a ton of money. And then, you know, you got sales schemes. You got all these different things that they're not doing. You added to it to enhance it. I mean, I did curbside when nobody was doing curbside out here. But the whole of it is that is recognizing things and inserting it and just having a belief system. I mean, my way of seeing it is like, man, I did all these things, made them a whole bunch of money, but it didn't cost any of my money if it didn't work. And then the crazy part is that a lot of it worked. So it's like, shit, how come I didn't get nothing out of it? And then it was like, oh, you got to take care of your business more. And then, you know, how life works, the universe works. I'm not supposed to stay in food. And, you know, it'll pull you out. I quit. My mother-in-law told me it was the best thing to ever happen to me. And I'm like, man, how the hell am I going to pay my bills in 2 weeks? Because this little $50 check is going to end. I got 2 kids, a house. How the hell am I going to do it? And then, you know, the universe, God, everything just starts clicking and try to go in real estate. And then music was like, nope, you're going to the BET Awards. You're going to see what life is like that you've never seen. And that's what happened. And from there, I tried to dig back into real estate because I thought I was going to be the wave. And some guy told me, no, if you do real estate, you can't do music anymore because it's a conservative city. You can't do both. They'll think of you in a different light. And so I was like, all right. And then once again, God gets involved, puts me in a position. It's like, oh, music is really what you're supposed to be doing. Entertainment's all you're supposed to be doing. And it continues and continues. And so,
but it also happens with you being proactive, right? Like you're not just like, oh, I hope this works out, or, oh, just, I hope it shows me the way without you having to do it. And you were still grinding throughout that time, right?
Exactly. But, you know, I think
like that's something that sometimes people don't get. Sometimes they think their self-belief is all they need. And then some people think it's all the grind. It's like, you got to have both of those things. You got to believe that things are going to work out, but also because you believe through the results of your actions, right? You're grinding.
Because, you know, for me, I managed the artists, I managed producers, I was doing things and, you know, working very strategically, building relationships, doing as I said as I did, building integrity. You know, something said you're going to do something, it costs you $500 of your own money. And to make sure it gets done, I was the one that spent the $500. I got named Mr. Make It Happen. And so it's like all these things were happening, but the end result wasn't correlating to what you envisioned. And so like, well, how the hell do I fix this wheel? And so, you know, that's where this show came about. And I'm bringing all that because I want to know some of your highs and lows of being in the industry. Because, you know, I went through some crazy highs and then I went some lows and then, you know, snowball effect. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Hey, man, well, just real quick, man, props to you for having that mindset of finding a way. Like that's important at all times. I know a lot of people that when things don't go right, they get crushed and they give up. And that's really what separates the people that make it from the people that don't long term. So you have to have that resilience. And, you know, sometimes you got to go back to the drawing board and try to, okay, well, how do I figure this out now? Or how can I use what I wanted to do, but maybe shift it in a different direction that still makes me happy and still lets me feel like I'm creating what I'm supposed to create or what I feel I'm supposed to create. So, you know, that's really dope, man, that you you seem like also that same hustler mindset. So props to you for that. And so, what was your question to me? My bad. I want to give you props.
All good, bro. Pretty much, I was just giving you an example of some of my highs and lows.
Oh, my highs and lows. Okay, yeah. Honestly, meant to be on some real shit. The majority of my career, my music stuff, like a lot of my grind, the majority has been lows. I feel like I'm still on a consistent, like, I lose more than I win. I mean, I'm definitely grateful for the things that I have won with, or my small wins that I've had, and I appreciate those. And obviously that's a huge fuel to my fire. Like, I don't, like, even with a little bit of like hope or a little bit of like a win, I'm like, damn, like that propels me to a whole other grind, a whole other level of like, okay, keep going. But on the grand scheme, I feel like I've taken way more losses, and it's been everything you can imagine, man. Like, so me starting all these things that I do by myself, not having anybody to guide me in the right direction, not anybody to show me, help me improve. Like, I haven't had like a mentor or someone to like, I've fucked up a lot, and not fucked up on like, one thing that was always very important to me is just treating humans properly and being respectful and not taking advantage of people. So I haven't fucked up in that sense. Because I think, because I'm always thinking about also other people while I do what I do. So I feel like I can chase what I want to chase while also not hurting anybody else or not keeping anybody else down. Whereas in this industry, I see a lot of people thinking like, oh, if he starts winning, I'm going to start losing, so I got to hold him down. So I've been on the receiving end of that, where I'm like moving forward. I'm like doing this, tours with certain people or trying to do, and then they see that I'm maybe selling more merch than them, or, a lot of people are coming to take pictures of me or whatever. And I seen, and this has happened to me many times, where just the people that have more of the power just fucking shut me out, or on some, even like just made up fucking lies just to make me look bad. I've had people like fuck me over in like every way possible, where they try to like not pay me for something, try to like, or bullshit promises like, oh yeah, do this for me and I can do this for you, never getting what they said that they're gonna do. Or just shutting me out from, because they're hating on the shine that I'm starting to get. Like, oh, like, no, you're taking, like, I've literally heard this. You're taking away my fans, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, first off, someone who, especially with music, someone who listens to your music can listen to my music and still listen to your music, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a real estate thing where it's like, oh, once there's only this amount of land, and once certain amount of houses are built, there's nowhere else you can build a house. Like, no, it's not like that. Like, with music, it's infinite. Someone could add you and me to the same fucking playlist. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But yeah, man, I've had a lot of that happen to me. Just everything grimy, man. People have been fucking me over, or taking advantage, or trying to like keep me out of stuff, and a lot, and some of it has hurt me, has like definitely taken its like a toll at some level. But I'm just the type of person that just like, nah, fuck that, I'm gonna keep going. And I try to be a person of integrity, so I try not to spend too much time on all that bullshit. I just try to like focus in on the people that are fucking with me, or that listen to my music, the people that want the art. And I just try to find new ways to create. But yeah, man, it's happened a lot. And so I do a lot by myself. I even get like weary around people in the industry, just because I'm like, damn, man, like hopefully I don't get fucked over, but man, I mean, if like I can go to like for days on specific things that have happened that have created lows, but it's a lot.
It's all good. So what would you say is the biggest thing you've learned from the lows?
The biggest thing is, if I want something done, I got to figure out how to do it and try to keep myself as self-sufficient as possible. Like, a lot of people think like that, like, and I've had people ask me like, oh, like, this, like, a lot of people think like I'm a part of this really big label or this big machine because of what I put out at the level that I put out, the quality of my content, from the music videos to the live streams to my graphic design to the consistency of how much I put out songs, and they think it's like this really big machine that I'm a part of, but really it's fucking me, man. It really is, man. Like, I'm like,
that's out the bag.
I edit my music videos, I direct them, I film almost all the scenes that I'm not physically in the video. And then but I'm grateful. I do have some close friends that have helped me in certain aspects. Like I have one of my good friends, Amari, who helps me film my music videos, and he's also my partner on my tech channel. So, but like a good, like 90% of the load of everything that I do is me. I'm the one who have to research and figure out how the fuck do I get my podcast on Apple, on Spotify, on Google, etc. You know, and then I'm the one who edits from the video to the audio to making the Instagram stories, video clip, edit, and form factor to, the Instagram, to TikTok, and to get the songs on TikTok. Like every aspect, really, man. Like even creating my own website, doing the design for the website, layout, handling all the back end, running my own merch, shipping it out myself, driving, grabbing everything I need to do, figuring out where I can grab the merch, like the shirts, and getting my wholesale license, and then finding a screen printer that does that, figuring out, what's the format you need for a design to print, like all that shit, making my business cards. So
it's safe
running
it's safe to say that, your high is that you do it all yourself. And
it's exhausting, and I want to get to a point where I have enough people helping me out with certain aspects that I can delegate, and then because then the machine can run faster if it's not just me. So little by little, I've been working on that. But that's what a lot of these lows have shown me, is when I had people, not follow through with their promises, and by the way, I'm also someone that doesn't I don't just ask for the sake of asking. Like if I ask for something, I'm willing to return in some way. So if I need someone to do something for me, then how can I do something for you that benefits? If it's not a monetary exchange, if I'm not just paying you for something, but you have something I can, I'll barter with people all the time. So that's very important, is to make sure that, again, I don't owe someone this or someone, that. So I'm always trying to be very fair with people. And then for some reason, people just try to get what they can from me. And then they go and do, they don't follow through with their part. So then I'm like, fuck, well, that thing that they were supposed to do for me was going to help this, but now I don't have that. How the fuck do I do it? So then I have to go teach myself how to do this other thing, and now I get it done. So
I want to bring up something important you're bringing. That bartering you're referring to is small business trade. And a lot of people don't think about that, that they're their own entity, they're their own business because they do things. And, sending a beat out to somebody and then them giving you a verse to use for something else, or, you doing this performance for someone's community event and you ask them to be a part of this, that is all small business trade. There's value in there, but you're holding the work more valuable than the monetary. And that there is old school, and I'm happy you're doing it, because that is that whole saying of, relationships get you places money will not. And
yeah, man,
that's an experience that you can take forever.
That's real talk. And also too, within this era, unfortunately, the clicks, views matter more than the talent. So if you can find ways to work with people, either you give, you get, whatever, and you get something that helps create content that can build exposure or create, traffic towards whether your site, your YouTube, whatever, if you have to learn the business side of things, or at least some level of entrepreneurship if you're chasing this dream. So that way you can learn how to, if you're not exchanging money, but you're exchanging services in some way that's going to benefit your content, then at least you can learn how to turn your content into money.
Fair. No, that's real. That's real spill. And you know what? You're supposed to take that spill, clean it up, and make some money out of it, is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Real spill means turn it into some money.
Yeah.
Squeeze all that juice out. It's worth something.
Yeah, I can't get into full details on this thing because it's something that I'm still working on, but I have this thing with this pretty big company that I'm doing some work within some of the skills that I have, that's going to also incorporate the hyphenate. But there's some stuff, but right now what we're working on is not a full monetary exchange. Again, it's okay, you could do this and I can do that. And the idea, and I was having a conversation with the main guy, and again, I might not be making any actual physical money right off the bat until something else pops up that hopefully we build towards. But the thing that they can definitely offer if things go well with this process that we're working on is I get some exposure out of that. And to me, like certain levels of exposure is worth more than money, because if you know how to turn that into money, then that's something that you can actually, like you kind of even said earlier, I have these other, all these other avenues that I do. If I can turn that exposure to create, to make money from one of my avenues and then probably overflow to one of my other avenues, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, man, exposure is important, and utilizing your talent, your skills to keep people entertained and wanting more of that content for more exposure.
I agree.
That turns into money.
See, I had the Baker Boys on my first season, and you know, when I had them on there, they're from Bakersfield, and you know, they got out of Bakersfield, and it's a funny story. They used to go onto the top of their roof of their house at midnight just so they could hear 92.3 The Beat. And you know, the only time you could hear it is when there's no traffic on the freeways, and you have to be on the top of your roof to hear it back in the day. And so they took that inspiration and moved to LA and got on the radio, but they were making beats and they were producing. They made a hit song for House of Pain, and they forgot all about making music because the radio got up there and they became high ranking in the radio royalty to today. And, you know, one thing that stuck with me is that they didn't build on the relationships that they had while they were in the doors. They discovered Big Boy in the Morning, and they just handed him off to Power 106. And, you know, he became a talent, a mega talent that's now, you know, 7-8 figures to be on the radio. And
yeah.
The whole perception is that I took with me from what I learned from them is that you have to utilize the relationships and, you know, be okay with presenting things and make sure it makes sense. Don't look like an ass and don't talk about things that don't make sense. But you utilize your time and you build things with them, you'll have more things to represent other than just time block of, you know, us talking.
Yeah. It's real talk.
And I was able to really enhance that. And I'm really blessed because they put that spirit on me to do something more. I always thought about it, you know, if I do this, maybe that could work. But the whole idea is to focus on this. And so little did I know that, you know, that whole interview would definitely help change my life, because now I take that to everything I do. Like, oh, no, we could relate on that. Oh, you do this. And so, you know, how do we build on it and then present something without looking like a dumbass?
Right.
But, bro, I feel like we could talk about business, we could talk about music, we could talk about TV. Shit, I haven't even dug into the whole WWF statement yet because, you know, I also grew up watching WWF, big Ultimate Warrior fan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and, you know, and the list goes on. And so
real quick, let me just mention one thing. Since you're a Stone Cold fan, Stone Cold has a podcast called the the Steve Austin podcast, and he has an episode. I believe it was episode 112 from quite a few years back, but he actually features one of my songs on his podcast, and he shouts me out on there. It's really, that was like that's one of my highs, is like, even though he's not in music, like he in the podcast says to me, he's talking to me in the podcast, like saying like, your music is badass. Like, even though he's not a hip hop artist or in the hip hop community, like just that was like one of the dopest compliments I've ever received. Because Stone Cold, I was such a huge, I still am, but especially when I was growing up as a kid, a humongous Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, to my favorite wrestler of all time. So like, that was just really dope. But yeah, man, I love wrestling. Oh
no, that's incredible. That's a high. And see, so you spend so much focus on the lows that you forgot to tell a high. And I'm happy I
have a lot of highs, and I'm grateful for them. But I was just saying earlier on when I answered the question is that I know I've had more lows. But no, I definitely have some highs, and I'm grateful for that, and that's what definitely helps keep me moving forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So as I was bringing all that up, I'm like, man, I got to start transitioning, because otherwise we're going to spend the whole episode on this. And so I have this thing called Trading Places. And, you know, it's like the Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy movie, Mortimer Trading Places. They waking up and lives have changed.
Right.
So I took that idea and mixed it in with today's time. And I was like, man, I'm going to go ahead and switch two iconic people's lives. And question number one is, will it work? Question number two is, what would life be like if they traded places? And so for you, I got Undertaker trading places with Ray Lewis.
Oh man.
Question number.
I don't think so. Them two, right? You're asking if it works or if it doesn't. No, I don't think so. For me, the easy answer on that is because even in WWE, like even someone who is a wrestler, all WWE, not me, but like I've heard a bunch of people who are wrestlers, they've all said, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, like everybody has said, there's not another wrestler who could be the Undertaker. So then throw in that into with any other person, like Ray Lewis even, nobody could play that. Especially in wrestling, I believe like the majority of the wrestlers that really made it, like Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker, and you have like some fiction or persona to The Undertaker, but who he was an extension of who he really was. And one thing that Stone Cold Steve Austin says a lot, which I love this idea, and I think this is what happens in music, but people think that a lot of music personas are fully real life, is that in wrestling, they call it turning it up. So it's an extension of their character that they turn up, they exaggerate parts of who they are for this character to get, this mass appeal on screen, on TV, etc. So yeah, I don't think there's a single person, not even the greatest wrestlers of all time, that could be the Undertaker. There's something so iconic of the delivery, the cadence, and the way he speaks, and his eyes, his mannerisms. Like it's untouchable.
So I'm gonna go ahead and give you light, or some light to the reason why I chose those two to switch and trade places. I feel like nobody was a middle linebacker like Ray Lewis was, and he was a lights out hitter. People were scared to death to deal with Ray Lewis.
Right.
It was one-on-one. And I think about Undertaker in the 90s when those lights used to come out and he used to pop up with the pallbearer and he'd be out of nowhere like, damn, that was on the middle of the mat. And, it was blacked out, and just the whole perception of it, that scared the living daylights out of people.
Right.
And so, you're absolutely right. No one could ever do what Undertaker can do. And
I can see the parallel that you're talking about, but on a full switch, I don't see it happening. I don't see it even remotely possible, but I see the parallels for sure.
Fair enough. I'm happy you can at least see the reason why I chose him, because you over here downplayed the fuck out of my idea.
Well, that's just my opinion. It's not,
It's all up. It's contrast uncut, brother. You ain't gonna.
But yeah, it's just it's that thing that, again, like every wrestler has said that. Every best all the top, the top 10s have all said nobody could ever, and I fully agree with them. So that's just how I see it. Like it's 100% clear to me that, like, yeah. But it makes sense what you're saying.
What's one thing about WWE, WWF era that really had you like, whoa, I can't believe that wasn't real?
Well, when I was a kid, I thought wrestling was real. So I thought it was all real. And then I remember, like, when people would tell me it was fake, I would get furious. I would argue with them, like, no. So, like, even stuff that seemed, like, super exaggerated, I was like, I remember when Val Venus got his dick cut off, I was like, oh, my God. I was like, there's no way that he got his dick cut off really in real life. But I'm like, no, but it's real, So, there's stuff that's, like, super exaggerated that now looking back, it's just like, oh, hell no, there's no way. But then there's some stuff that's just like, I just remember I was like, damn, there's like, but then they incorporate a lot of realism too, right? Like, but now I don't like when people say WWE is fake, because the wrestling itself is real. Like I've wrestled on a real ring. That shit is painful as fuck. The hits are not bullshit. They find ways to try to minimize the
The bruises are real. Owen Hart falling to his death, real.
Bro, those chair shots, the reason they don't do the chair shots anymore is because people legitimately got their necks broken and got excessive concussions. That's real. They weren't cheaper, weaker chairs that folded easily. No, these are just humongous people that are stronger than your average Joe, all hitting each other at an excessively strong with excessively strong force that makes it look like it bends easily. But nah, that shit was brutal. So yeah, like wrestling is real. The outcomes are predetermined, and the storylines are often fabricated. But a lot of times they incorporate even real shit into the storylines. Like, when like when Lita cheated on Matt Hardy with Edge, and they had an affair. Like that was real life that they ended up throwing into the story of the WWE, which was fake, but it was real shit. They really hated each other. Edge literally took Lita, and Lita cheated on Matt Hardy when they were together. Like, that's real shit. But, yeah, storyline, stuff like that's fake. But
hey, the reason why I asked that question is because the one thing that fucked me up about being a fan. It wasn't the whole, it wasn't real thing. Cause like once you seen it in real life, you could see like, you know, it's a little bit more scheduled and planned.
It's
But
it's choreographed.
yes, exactly. Very
But a
well.
lot of it's choreographed on the fly. Like a lot of people who don't know how it works,
Improv.
they don't actually script this out. They have ways that they talk to each other and little like hand, like the way they grab their wrists or certain things that like let you know, hey, this is coming. So they're like choreographing on the spot, like improv, which is incredible. So that alone is amazing.
Exactly. But no, the one thing I'm gonna bring up is that I was upset that Undertaker and Kane were not brothers. That was the one thing that fucked me up.
Oh my God, me too. Me too. For the longest, I was like, nah, they're brothers. They're brothers. They're like, no, they're not. But yes, they are. And then, yeah, I found out they weren't. And I was like, what?
No reason, no wonder why they fucking kept the mask on Kane.
Yeah. But they were incredible together. The Brothers of Destruction. That show was dope.
Come on. So, bruh, I'm gonna transition out of Trading Places and, you know, the WWF talk. I got this thing called Impulse Q&A. And, you know, pretty much it's impulse questions, impulse answers. You got to answer 3 questions. You could pass on whatever you don't want to answer, but it's like a perspective. They're questions on cards, and here we go.
Let's do it.
Question number 1. What happened on your worst date?
Oh, man. My worst date? I mean, it's pretty graphic. Should I get into it?
You know, let's get the what is it, the Cliff Notes version.
Okay. She seems like she, the day of, which there was no talk of this whatsoever. The idea, like, we had discussed that she was gonna meet me at my place. The day of, she asked me to pick her up, like pretty far away. And I was like, that was already annoying me because I don't like that. I was like, why would you tell me ahead of time? Now, like, I got to go pick you up. Now I have to, like, not only that, late at night when it's time to drop you off, I got to drop you back off now because you don't have a ride. When, like, we already had, like, a plan and you were supposed to meet me here. Like, that was weird to me. So that was kind of like, and honestly, like, with stuff like that, normally I would just go, like, nah, I'm good. But I was like, you know, I'm free, I guess. All right, fine, I'll pick you up. So I picked her up. That already started off bad. Then she came over. We're hanging out. There's like this vibe to her that's just like, something felt like she wasn't as fun as she seemed, because I had met her at a party and then the rest of the time that we spoke was like on text, and she seemed pretty fun on text, but in person she was not that fun. So it was like very like, I was like, can we just get to this already? So finally, like, okay, we're about to get things popping off. And then her kissing was awkward a little bit. And then there's some stuff physically I wasn't very satisfied with her. I don't know. I felt like she didn't come prepared for a date. And so I was like, oh, come on, girl. Like, you knew what was about to happen. Like, why aren't you prepared? But okay, whatever. And then when we finally started doing stuff, like, turns out she's like allergic to like latex. And I'm like, what the fuck? So then I'm like, oh my God. And then, so then I have to stop because it's like burning her, the latex. And I'm like, why wouldn't you tell me this? Like, what, did you think I was not going to use a condom? Like, I'm not going to try, I don't even really know you, girl. Like, so I was like, what the hell? And then, so then I'm like, at least trying to get, like, I'm already like turned on enough that I'm like, I'm trying to get myself, at least, can I just get one off? So I'm like, okay, well, if we can't do that, like, maybe we'll just play with each other in other ways. But I guess the latex already had irritated her enough that any other foreplay was already like bugging her. So I was like, oh my God. So then so for me to like get my finish, I need to be active. Like, I'm not the type that can just like sit there, chill, and then I'm like, she can get me off. Like, I need to be doing something, because 9 times out of 10, like, the head by itself just, I don't know, maybe because when I started off at a young age, like, I had some pretty incredible head that like the standard is very high. So like, if you don't hit that level, it's like, it's not gonna work. So I tried to like, hopefully, I was hoping she could get me off, and it just wasn't working. It was just like, it got to a point where I was like, and then her arm got tired, so I was just like, it's all good, no worries. All right, cool. Okay, oh, and real quick, what I had forgot to mention was like the first initial thing when she said to pick her up, and I was like thinking about, damn, I gotta pick her up, and then I gotta drop her off late at night. Like, that annoyed me. So I had asked her, I was like, do you need just a ride to get picked up, or do you need both? But I already had a feeling she was gonna need both. But she actually said, I can actually take an Uber back. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So even though I was still annoyed at some level, I was like, at least I didn't have to drive her back home late at night. So I was like, all right, cool. So at the end of it, she's like, I kind of like insinuate like, all right, you know, I got a long day tomorrow, blah, blah. And then she just asked me to pay for her Uber when I'm like, what the hell? Like, why wouldn't you say that in the beginning? Like, that just felt really weird too. And so I was just like, get out of here. Like, here. And I you know what I did was, like, cause I was so annoyed and so pissed off. Just cause also too, like the way she was acting too, like when things weren't working anymore, like when we couldn't really finish things, like then she got frustrated cause she couldn't help me finish, but I was frustrated cause everything else was like not going anywhere near according to plan. And so then when she asked me to pay for her Uber, and I was like, okay. So I ended up paying her in quarters because I was like, nah, because I didn't have any cash on me, and I didn't want to Zelle her. I didn't want to have I don't even want her to have my info at any level. So like here, like, so I gave her in quarters. She's like, I don't want to carry quarters. I was like, look, man, you're asking for money. Take this money. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I was like, all right, cool. And then I just walked her out. She got picked up, but oh my god, man, that was horrible.
That sounds like the first date.
It was horrible. And this is me kind of just, again, cliff notes. I got kind of detailed, but not very. And it was just like, everything was a mess with her. It was just so terrible.
Oh, man. You know, ladies and gentlemen, if you get some type of feeling that the shit ain't going to go right, just end it.
I should have canceled it from the beginning.
He was like, you know what? I should not have been so nice because they took advantage of my kindness.
Oh, and then she had me buy her a coffee. Like, hey, can you get me a coffee? I'm like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh my god. And by then I'm like, I'm trying to get it in. So I'm like, all right, fine.
I'll give in. I'll give you some energy, bitch.
Yeah.
Question number 2. If you could jump into a pool full of something, what would it be?
I mean, money, obviously, if I can take it with me. If it's not money, then just like, I always joke around about like, cause I love cheese a lot. Like when I go to like Olive Garden and they do the Parmesan cheese, like I love cheese. I have them make it look like it's like a snowy day, you know? And so I'm like, man. And so there's this cheese
You don't tell that lady to stop when she says cheese.
Oh, I always give them a heads up. I always tell them like, hey, yo, like just be prepared. Your arm might get a little tired if you haven't worked out lately. And so, like, yeah, like I get a lot of cheese, bro. I love cheese. So there's a spot in this burger place in Montebello that I really love. And I like getting shredded cheese, like yellow cheddar cheese, shredded, that's cold with fries. So and I grab the fries and I kind of like a claw, I break it in half and I scoop it up. So I have cold cheese with hot fries. It's different than just cheese fries because the cheese melts right away and then it's just all warm, and which is good too. But the cold shredded cheese with the fries tastes like incredible. So that cheese is like my favorite cheese ever. And I always joke around about like, man, if I could just take a bath in that cheese and just like eat it as I'm chilling, it's so good. So yeah, if not money, cheese.
He said I would jump cheese. Some sharp cheddar cheese.
Hell yeah.
It.
Yep, and then just like eat as I swim.
Fair enough. Question number 3. What would be the worst movie sequel ever made?
Worst sequel movie ever made? That's tough because I'm not one of those sequel haters. Like, I'm cool with this.
There hasn't been a sequel made. That means, it's just so good, the first movie, they shouldn't have a second. I'll tell you mine. Mine's is Boys in the Hood.
I agree with that. Let me pick one though. I would say, damn. Well, my favorite movie of all time is V for Vendetta. As much as I would love to see V come back, nope. So no sequel to that.
That's dope. I've never had someone say their favorite movie and was like, I don't want this shit to come back. Let's just keep it a classic.
The ending was perfection, and like I would love to see V alive and continuing, but like it just ended so perfectly. I'm okay with him dying.
Fair enough. So you
spoiler alert.
You survived Impulse Q&A. You survived Trading Places, and so let's reward you and talk about what you're working on, what you're excited for coming up.
Yeah, man. And just heads up, I gotta head out in like in 5 minutes or so. But yeah, so what I'm working on right now is I'm constantly working on stuff. I'm constantly making beats, making videos. I'm dropping songs like every few weeks at minimum. Like on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff, and all types of stuff. EDM music. I've been doing a lot of remixes to a lot of theme songs. So I did like a hip hop trap version of the Mandalorian theme song. I did one of the Office theme song. The all types of stuff. So I've been doing hip hop music where I'm spitting bars and doing stuff with like lyrical battle rap. I do songs that are about life. I do inspirational, motivational. I do deep, real shit, life music. You know, club music, everything you can imagine. Like I'm just into everything. So I make music about all the stuff that I like. I've been making a lot of synthwave, vaporwave, 80s music. I've been dropping songs on that consistently. So like my music catalog on Spotify, Apple Music, there's a decent amount of music on there that you guys can check out. But yeah, I have a lot more in the works that's constantly going to be dropping throughout the year. Music videos. June 13th is my birthday, and almost every year I drop a song on my birthday with a music video. I don't think I did last year. I dropped it. Last year actually was like the first year in a long time that I didn't drop it on my birthday. I dropped it 6 days later on Father's Day. 6 days later, last year was Father's Day, and that's when I dropped it. It was a song dedicated to my dad, but it's not a happy song. So that's called Thank You, and that dropped like Father's Day. But this year I'm going back to my birthday, dropping a track. And this one is going to revolve more about skateboarding and like how I felt, because skateboarding is another love of mine, falling in love with skateboarding, how I got introduced to it and how I'm still active with it. So it's like a love letter to skateboarding, dropping a song and a music video on that. And then I'm always dropping like different creative videos too. So like this weekend I'm going to San Francisco, collaborating with this big YouTuber who's big in the Tesla community. I've done a lot of videos with the Tesla community, the Tesla cars. So I have this project that I'm working on where I'm incorporating Tesla music making, and that's going to drop probably in the next week or two. So just constantly content. And then my podcast, I have 2 podcasts. I drop one every week and another one like every other week. So just follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, the Hyphenate. Same thing on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff.
Perfect. Bruh, so you notice the show's been unique. We try to do things like other people with asking the types of questions, but not asking the same type of question. And so, you know, that keeps us to be different outside the box. And I'm like, how do I close my show and keep that same energy? And so it hit me, you know, the listeners knows it's coming, and I'm going to hit you with it. You got any questions for me?
Yeah, where is this going to drop? Are you going to have it on YouTube? Okay, cool.
And so it will be on YouTube. It's going to go on. I do everything audio and visual, so you can catch it on everywhere that you can hear podcasts at. And then, you know, hopefully by season 3, I will have this on a network. So
sick, man.
That's the whole goal. If you notice the shows, like I said, it's unique. The contrast uncut part is me. I'm contrast because, you know, I'm mixed in culture and my skin color is white. And, you know, that's alone just the contrast. And then I'm uncut. Like, you know, we can talk about any damn thing. It's good.
Oh, they meant uncut, like you're not circumcised. I was like, wait, what? Why is that on the title?
Oh, no, not like that.
I was like, bro, that's too much info.
No.
Because you're just like, I'm uncut, and then there's like a pause. I'm like, huh? I get what you mean now. I got you.
But yeah, that's uncut.
Real quick, I got one more question for you. When you get a chance, man, you down to come be on my podcast?
Absolutely, I'm down.
Hell yeah, man. You have a dope vibe, and I appreciate talking to you. You have a lot of insight. You got a lot of experiences also. So like, my podcast is not so much an interview thing, but we vibe back and forth and we just shoot the shit. Sometimes we talk about past experiences or what you're doing, and sometimes we just talk about topics that are in life, in the world, you know? So yeah, man, you seem like I enjoyed talking to you, so I'd like to talk to you again on my podcast.
Sounds good, bro. Let's just set it up. It ain't nothing. You got our number?
Sick.
Shit, I have my car back by tomorrow, so, you know, it ain't nothing.
Hell yeah. So then, okay, so drop.
It's Contrast Uncut, Season 3, Episode 22. Big shout outs to Uncle Snoop's Army and Bobby D Presents. I appreciate you, brothers. I wouldn't be able to do dope shit like this and interview this brother right here on the other side of the screen and get dope stories and get history. I mean, we didn't even got the story about his worst date, everybody. I mean, that shit was bad. I hope I never have to go through something like that. So make sure you guys keep me in your prayers with my wife, you know. And
yeah.
Shout outs to the Hyphenate coming on the show, bro. I appreciate you coming on here, man.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for your time, man, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Yo, what's poppin'? It's the Hyphenate, and you are now tuned in to Contrast Uncut. Shout out to Bobby D, Uncle Snoop's Army, and to you guys for watching this.
Hey, big shout outs to Patty too. Salute.
Yes, Patty all day or day.
Hey, boom, bro. It's okay. Man, I know you guys can't smell this right now, and I ain't talking about none of that other stuff. I'm talking about some of that good stuff, that smell good stuff. I think it's breakfast. What time is it? It's breakfast time. Make sure you tune in to Contrast Uncut no matter what you're doing. Whether you're eating breakfast, you're smelling good food like I'm smelling, or if you're smelling other stuff, we're good to watch too. Make sure you tune in. Thank you.